Oh no. Oi, settle down.
God, 2020, it was meant to be the year, wasn't it? It was year 12. The plan was to find a good routine, but also go out and have some fun. Like there'd be 18ths and you've got your valedictories and your formals, none of which have happened.
When I heard that of COVID-19, I thought it was just like a small outbreak like the flu. And then I heard that it turned into a pandemic, and it was just really shocking, I guess, that I couldn't believe that this would be happening in my senior year.
For 2020, I had high hopes. It was supposed to be the best year of my life. I turned 18, I get to go clubbing, I get to get my license and things like that.
We stopped asking questions about, can I pursue my dreams? And we started asking things like, is there even a dream for me to pursue?
I was expecting it to be stressful because I'm in year 12, but I was also expecting it to be fun. Just expecting to live that nearly adult life, like you're finishing your childhood off, going into a whole different world. But it didn't really end up like that. It took a big turn.
Tonight on Four Corners, the class of 2020, we've been through some really weird times this year with a lot of unexpected challenges thrown at us.
We give you a look into our lives and what it's been like completing our final year of school in the middle of a global pandemic.
And how this year has changed our generation and the way we see the world.
My name is Grace Juan. I'm 17 years old and I live in Sydney. So at the beginning of the year, I was expecting year 12 to be very celebratory and that it's our last year of high school with so many events and everything. In January and February, I was looking forward to it, especially because I was going on the USA dance tour with my school, and that was very fun. When we went to America, we were auditioning for different schools and going to New York City and everything. And when we came back, that's when we went into lockdown. So it was only a week after until we landed that we went into lockdown. So we were very lucky. It was really good timing. And from that, it's been both stressful, but also it's a silver lining as well, because we experienced something that no one has ever experienced before in year 12.
So this is my school, Newtown High School of the Performing Arts. I've been here for 6 years, from year 7 up until year 12. And it's been a hell of a journey, you know. Time flies by very fast when you're having fun, making lots of memories. Which brings us to Joe and Amy.
Hi.
Okay, just extend this. Okay, cool. So, Amy, what did you initially think when school got cancelled?
I think when school first got cancelled, we were all a bit naive. We thought it was pretty fun, something different. Didn't really know what a pandemic meant.
I'm Amy Hilliard, I'm 18 and I live in Sydney. When COVID hit, I lost my job at Top Juice, or temporarily lost it, and I also did a kind of part-time on and off teaching cello to primary school kids at my local primary school. And when it was taken away, you're suddenly like, what jobs are actually a necessity? We all know that nurses and those type of jobs have been so needed in this pandemic. But the smaller jobs, just working at a juice stand or teaching music, are they still valuable even though they're taken away in a pandemic? And we all kind of reconsidered, that helped us with deciding uni degrees. We're thinking, is this still valuable to do? The mood around our school kind of shifted a lot, especially in our grade. For dancers, actors and musicians,
We were all very conflicted and very confused as to how much our talents will be useful in the next years.
And Joe, what has been like the silver lining for you?
The silver lining was that it brought us all together in a way that wouldn't have happened otherwise.
Yeah, exactly.
My name is Joseph Hathaway Wilson. I'm 18 years old and I live in Sydney.
What did you think? Bruh! So when school first got...
This year targeted everything that I took for granted. You're always told that you live a life for moments like you'll get in year 12. Your formal, your graduation day, your muck-up week, your muck-up day, or whatever it is you're going to do. This is the last year that you're going to spend with these people who you've known for the past 6 years or more if you went to primary school with them. Having that taken away, and I know this sounds stupid and ungrateful for what I do have, but having that security and that expectation just sort of taken away, it takes the value out of everything else. We stopped asking questions about like, well, can I pursue my dreams? And we started asking things like, is there even a dream for me to pursue? I remember one of my friends, I asked her earlier in the year what she wanted to do after school, and her response was, well, I was going to go to art school, but the economy doesn't need another artist. The worst thing, I feel like, it was a mental burden. And that was what made it really difficult. The fact that you couldn't just say, you know what, you couldn't put a date on it. It wasn't like an upcoming assignment or a scary teacher or a argument with a friend. You know, you couldn't just think through it logically. We talk about things like depression and those kind of feelings as being contagious, and you get such an understanding of that in COVID, coming home to the same 4 people who are also deprived of everything that, you know, they look forward to, everything that they wake up for, except for their family. God, it wears you down.
I'm Zoe Jenkins, I'm 18 and I'm from Melbourne, Australia. For 2020, I had high hopes. It was supposed to be the best year of my life. My last year or so in Australia before I leave for the States next year. My last year of high school studies. I turn 18, I get to go clubbing, I get to get my license and things like that. When I'm out playing on a court, you know, I love it. My head space is free. I can almost feel like I can do all things, but really I'm just living freely, not a care in the world. But I'm always focused on the game. I'm always wanting to better myself. It's a great feeling for me. It's a feeling that I never want to lose. It was in April this year. I was offered a full scholarship to LMU, which is a university in Los Angeles. It was almost as if I had accomplished something. I've reached my dreams. And to do it in the midst of COVID, where I was worried that I may not even get the opportunity to go over there because of the lack of exposure, it was really, it was a thrilling moment for me. I was super stoked. Just another lockdown Sunday here in Melbourne today, and we've found ourselves doing another card game. Today it's Uno. So we've got my dad here,
Hi.
Mum,
Hello. Hello.
brother-in-law and sister.
Hi.
And Poppy. Lockdown in Melbourne has been from, I think it was March, and then we had a little break, sort of June, July for maybe 2 or 3 weeks, not very long. And then since, probably the second week in July through to now, we've been in lockdown. So that's, lockdown has not been fun in Melbourne. Yeah, that'll be
And then you might need to, you can grab the other chair and come around this side, Zoe, if you wanted to. That's
for a minute. Yeah, a minute.
Okay.
Repeating the same thing over and over every day for, like, I don't even know how many days it has been now, has been so tough on everyone, I think. Due to COVID, both my mum and my dad have lost their jobs to redundancies. And so that's been both had periods of time with unemployment, and it's been hard for them to pick up jobs. Terrible shuffling.
Hey.
Blue. When Dad lost his job and he was unemployed for 4 months, we were just living off Mum's salary. And that meant, cutting down on food shopping, the presents or the little gifts that she might buy online shopping. There was none of that. There was no, if you were running low on something, it was still like, maybe toilet paper or mascara or something that you would just take for granted. If you're running low, we really had to sort of budget that in a little bit, just to make sure that that Mum and Dad didn't eat into their savings, really. Like, we were just earning the money that Mum earned. Which was, really the bare minimum, just to get to pay the bills, to get food, to get washing supplies, to, get dog food, sanitary items, like that was literally it for those 4 months.
So how many have you won?
Both of them. Yeah. He always wins. Actually, no, I win Monopoly. I always win Monopoly.
We're up to like 1
Yeah, it was like 1 a.m. playing Monopoly. I was like, oh my God. It was an emotional toll because you can see that the loss of their job has impacted them both. Like, Mum cried, and you never want to see your parents crying. So then that's a bit of sentiment to me, and that makes my heart break a little bit. And then my dad, like, he's such a strong man. So that was the emotional toll that took on the family. Was sort of like, we'd never seen that downside of him before. Made him maybe a little bit more vulnerable, and it really just implemented the need for having a close-knit family, and how much that can affect you and why you need that support system around you. My last game I played was the beginning of February. When it came around to about April, when I realised, that could potentially be my last game for the year, that was really heartbreaking because a small section of me was sort of lost because, I always look forward to playing basketball. There's obviously a lot of cases over in America at the moment, which is a worrying factor to moving over there within the next sort of 6 months. And hopefully by then there is some sort of vaccination that I can use, but it is worrying to say the least, especially for my mum and my dad who aren't going to be there with me, I think, as well. If COVID is still a really prevalent issue around the world next year that prevents me from going to the US, that's a big worry of mine. This year has really changed me as a person. I think it's made me more driven to reach my goals, and it's made me want to reach those goals, and it's made me not take things that I took for granted.
My name's Nada Osman, I'm 17 years old and I live in the public housing towers in Flemington, Melbourne. Victoria, do I say Melbourne, Victoria?
Hey guys, so right now I'm just going downstairs to play some football. I'm meeting Seattle. We're just gonna go around, kick the ball, enjoy the heat.
2020 for me has been a roller coaster, to say the least. It started off a great year. If we're not going to look at the bushfires and all that, but for me personally, it started off a great year. I was doing some stuff with my friends, getting ready for my senior year. And then COVID hit and the year just took an ugly turn. It was unexpected, to say the least. Wasn't prepared for it. Still, I'm not prepared. It's been a crazy year. Very crazy year. So in early July, the public housing estates here in Flemington, which I live in, were put into hard lockdown because we had a rising case of COVID in the estates. We had approximately, I think it was 50 to start off with. And the cases just kept on rising. I was sitting at home watching TV, and the chief, what's his name? Daniel Andrews, and Daniel Andrews announced that the estates will be going into a hard lockdown and effective immediately. So the moment he said effective immediately, everyone started to panic. They're like, what's going on? We look out our windows, and people who were driving out of the neighborhood already were getting stopped by police, telling them no, they can't leave. There was officers all around the estate blocking all the entrances and exits of the buildings, telling us we can't leave, we have to stay inside the building. There was a lot of tension because nobody knew what was going on and no one was explaining anything, and they didn't explain anything to anybody for a couple days. It was just stay in your houses and we'll figure out the rest. There was no plan. So we kind of felt betrayed and like left out.
The system placed upon me had failed me. No doctors or workers, just the bloody authority. Calls from ill family, from minors wanting help. The stress placed upon them was too much to sustain. Failing.
I've always enjoyed poetry. I just feel like it's a way for me to express myself. I can't sing, so poetry is another, and I can't draw, so poetry is another way for me to just get my feelings out there and write it down. And especially in lockdown, I got to sit down and I had time, so I got to write and put all my thoughts and emotions and my frustrations and my anger and everything down on a piece of paper and just write it all out.
Failing grades, failing health. Oh, and let's not forget the system that put them in this mess.
The way the hard lockdown changed my perspective on the world was I felt like not the world, but the people in power didn't really represent me or didn't really care for me. They just thought I was a statistic, a number that could just be shunned away. And it kind of made me feel as though like I had no place in society. Like I could just be told what to do. I could just be pushed around. Since that's what they did, they just locked me up in my house and didn't explain anything to me. It upset me because it was like, I'm an Australian child, born and raised here. My parents have been here for many, many, many years. And I'm still a statistic to them. I'm still a number. Like, I can just be pushed around.
So this is my dad. Do you want to say hi?
Hello. How are you doing?
I'll show you a tour of my room. It's not a pretty big room, just an average size room. So when you open my room, the first thing you see is my mirror, then my tall boy with my mirror. Hi. It's kind of messy, don't judge that.
The community basically stood together and took it into their own hands to help us since the government wasn't doing much. They supplied us with food, they supplied us with groceries, they supplied us with everything that we basically needed. We've always been a very tight-knit community. We've always done activities together. There's always been something going on in the community that has brought us all together. But seeing us come together like this, it wasn't a shock. I was proud to say that this is my community. Like, look at everybody, look at Flemington, look at North Melbourne, look at us, look what we're doing as a group.
This is where online learning is. Well, some of the time. I just have my whiteboard that has everything I have to do. These are all my subjects, my exam timetable, career options. Don't mind my handwriting. This is really ugly handwriting. And then I just have this quote that motivates me to just keep going because I'm nearly there and to not stress about everything.
I think this year has changed me a lot. I've matured a lot. I've gone through a lot. I've just been more open to things. I'm starting to see things from people's perspectives more than I have ever. It's shown me like the true colours of the world, and it's shown me like society's priorities. And I feel like at my age, a lot of people don't experience that or wouldn't have experienced that. But I think I'm very lucky to have gone through this at this time, because it's changed me to be a better person.
I'm Aaron, I'm 17 and from Adelaide, South Australia. 2020 has been an adventure for me. It's been a bit of a roller coaster as well. I've had my good times and I've had a couple of not so good times. At the beginning of the year, I found a job application for an apprenticeship with Regional Express. After that job trial, I was sent a letter asking if I wanted to become an apprentice at Adelaide Airport. It was pretty cool. It was exciting. I think, yeah, me and my parents, we went out and had a dinner that night that I got that letter saying that. So that was pretty cool.
So I've just arrived at work today. We're going to go talk to my supervisor Russell and see what's going on.
It meant a lot to me to get a job with Rex as an apprentice, as it has been something I've dreamed of doing for years now. I've wanted to do it since I was about 12.
Good? Yeah.
Aviation's in my family, as my uncle was an aircraft engineer within the Air Force in Perth and moved around Australia a lot doing that. My parents are both working at the Air Force base near us.
So we need to take the duct off and put on this one, and we need to get the angle right.
Yep.
And take over.
In the first few weeks of getting that job that I had dreamed about, it was really good. I was getting paid to work on aircraft and do what I like doing. That was a dream come true. Working on the airfield was just, it's a whole different thing. I started early March and was placed on stand down a few weeks after due to COVID hitting the aviation industry pretty hard, and we weren't allowed to fly as much anymore because not many people were allowed to travel. When I got stood down, I felt pretty worried about what was going to happen within the industry and what would happen with my job, as I'd only just started and was still in that probation area. During my period of stand down, I was pushed by my parents and my school to try and complete my year 12. I tried during my stand down period and almost completed it. Only had I think it was one project left. And then when I was brought back to work full time, I finished that assignment the week before I started. So I finished year 12 a few days before I went back to work full time.
Then we check that doors are shut, compartments are shut, cargo door shut.
Looking back on 2020, I've learnt that you don't need to focus on what's going wrong at the moment. You should always try and look for the positive, as everything can be going wrong, but there's always a better side of it.
I'm Barney Mort. I'm a Year 12 student currently going to school in Victoria. I live on a goat station which is in northwestern New South Wales. Janine is our goat station which is situated 150 k's west of Birch, and it's 60,000 acres and it's red country, kind of sandy, scrubby stuff. Think of the outback if you want to kind of get a picture of what our farm's like. I got run over. Anyway, so brother's just driving his F-Dad and we're just driving the wooden posts. Got the slave here just pulling them up for us. They're coming up pretty easy, but anyway, yeah, we're just doing that. I go to school in Victoria at a boarding school because I can't go to a local school because it's too far, and I'd either have to weekly board in town, so either way I'm going to be boarding somewhere. The school I go to is about 1,100 k's, which is 12 to 13 hour drive depending on how efficient you are. Term 3 was at the start of when the cases were starting to get in high numbers, and at around that same period of time there was the New South Wales border closure. I went down to boarding school. I drove down on the for the first day of term anyway, and we stayed down there, and it got about 4 weeks in, I think, and the stage 4 restrictions were announced and schools were shut down. Not long after that, the school was told if you can go home, you got to go home. Once that happened, a lot of people left and we got put into the house, which we nicknamed the orphanage. So we got stuck in Victoria and we couldn't get into New South Wales with my dog and my ute.
Oh, get out. Get up.
It was very stressful because we were struggling to be able to get an exemption to get my brother, my ute and my dog home. I was looking down the barrel of not going home until I finished exams, which was going to be a 4-month or 5-month period. And I could put up with it, but the stress of having to do that on top of also having to do remote learning and also being Year 12, as well as a whole bunch of other little things that went on in the background at school, it meant that it was frustrating, but it was also a little bit, I was a bit anxious about what the future held, to be honest. Eventually we got an exemption to get home, so we packed up the vehicle and got home. We did it in one day. We left school at 4 o'clock in the morning and got to the border at 8 o'clock. When I got home and I drove in past the mailbox, I was very tired, but God, I was relieved because it meant that I was going to be able to start to have some sort of routine or some sort of predictability in my life. My plans for next year is hopefully and ideally I'll get a job on a cattle station, and ideally and hopefully I get to get over into WA or Northern Territory with the border closures. But the plan is to hopefully go and work over there, and I'm very excited to get out and work and find a bit of purpose, because this year I think a lot of people have lost traction and they've lost purpose. When I look back at 2020, I just see it as the only thing that I can really take away from this is I've toughened up, I'll get through it. This year has also affected me in a negative sense as well. It's been hard, but it's been very tiring, and at times it does pull you down. I know there's a lot of students that are feeling the same, and a lot of students that are really feeling a lot worse. But I don't know, it leaves an impact on you sometimes when you're pushed into kind of such stressful situations. And I acknowledge that you can only toughen up from those, but in those circumstances, it does also kind of leave a lasting effect.
My name is Selena Blackley. I'm 17 years old and I live in Mount Isa. I guess 2020 has been wild. That's probably the word that I'd use to describe it. Sometimes when I'm feeling so closed in from Mount Isa, I've lived here my whole life and sometimes it feels like I've done everything there is to do in Mount Isa. So when I feel like that, I guess I just go out on country and fly the drone. It just really makes me see things in a bigger picture. Almost that there is so much more out here and it's such a bigger world than just living in Mount Isa. When I heard of COVID-19, I just thought it was just a small outbreak like the flu. And then I heard that it turned into a pandemic and it was just really shocking, I guess, that I couldn't believe that this would be happening in my senior year. I was elected as the Spinifex State College Indigenous Captain, so basically my job just entitled running and planning events for the whole school just to bring knowledge and awareness of Indigenous culture to the wider school community. And but unfortunately, due to COVID, we haven't been able to do many things. So we just pulled up at Lake Mindara and we're just gonna go into our dance practice now. We're just gonna do the three of them. Dancing has been impacted by COVID significantly this year, as there were not many events in Mount Isa that we usually perform at, like the Mount Isa Rodeo was cancelled, the Mount Isa Show, the Multicultural Festival that we usually dance at every year. Now we're just going to jump in the car and I'm going to give you guys a little tour of my hometown of Mount Isa. I've missed out on a lot, like a lot of the experiences that I should have made with my friends this year and things that I should have done with my family this year, more cultural stuff. I guess that's probably another driving factor behind my decision to possibly stay here next year and work in the mines for that 12-month contract, just so that I can maybe make 2021 a bit more of a fuller year of events and new experiences and memories, just that extra year just before I go off to uni. I'm the most responsible out of my friendship group. I bring up a picnic blanket when we come up here because I know it's dirty, but they just that's why I'm like the mum of the group. I'm a little bit nervous just to go out into the wide world. I was nervous pre-coronavirus, but I guess the world has really changed. Everything is just so fast changing, and I think it's really scary to leave school and to go out into the big world and experience that for myself independently.
So my name is Aka Ashraf. I live in western suburb of Sydney. My nationality is Afghani, but I was born in Iran, and I think it's been about 3 years that I came to Australia as a refugee. At the beginning of this year, I was like, yeah, this is gonna be my year. I want to study, get a great result, but everything goes wrong. It's totally upside down. Good morning, this is Ali. It's 7:30. I'm about to have breakfast with my parents, and then after school.
Morning. Morning. How are you? خوبی؟ صبحت بخیر. خوبی بابا؟ تو خوبه؟ مامان خوبی خوشین سلامت این صبحشون بخیر. چه خبرها؟
The most important thing in my life is my family. Yeah, it's my family.
باشه مامان.
یعنی پنجشنبه بخیر زنگ بزنم بیمارستان بلده دی سرجری سو. و باید زنگ بزنم. During last year, my dad had about 5 surgeries. It's my responsibility as an eldest child to look after my family because my dad's not working, and he cannot work. Say next to school, I gotta work, and next to that, I gotta do my dad's stuff. I gotta take him to hospitals, to his different specialists. Sometimes I feel like it's really exhausting, but it is what it is because you're their hope and they count on you. So yeah, that's a great feeling that somebody counts on you. And here we go. My beautiful teacher and my classmates. Creole is a particular language to us. Hello everyone, this is Ali. And today's my graduation day, so I am super excited for it, because that despite all those difficulties that we've been through, the corona and those online classes, so we still managed to graduate, so that's great. You did a great job.
Aka Ashraf, Captain of Bankstown Senior College, Gold Award, Equal First in Ceramics, Highly Commended in Mathematics Standard 2, Bankstown Senior College Graduate Certificate, SRC Leadership Award.
I was really excited and a little bit nervous because I was going to do the graduation speech, so yeah. It was great. After 3 years, you're finally graduating from year 12 and starting a new life.
Today is an exciting day, and I want to give a congratulations to everyone, including myself, for being here today.
I think this year has really changed me and made me stronger. I feel like I'm a grown-up man like this year because lots of difficult things happen, and I think growing through those things made me stronger. When I look back at 2020, what I learned is to never give up, even though in a very bad situation. Just never give up, and stay strong and positive. It'll be alright.
So today was a really exciting day. It was our first day back at school and our first day back training. So it was really good to get back to that, and we're looking forward to what the next 2 weeks hold. Going back to school, finally, for the last 2.5 weeks of Year 12 is actually really exciting. It's giving, I think it's a good lift before the exams to actually see your friends again and get to socialise with your friends and your teachers and your coaches, in my case, at my school.
So this is about transcription and translation.
Getting back in the classroom has been pretty daunting, fairly scary, but overall really excited just to be back on the school grounds and actually face-to-face learning again.
We do have some flexibility over which sections of the exam you'd like to do right this moment.
I think most people are actually excited to wake up at 6:30 or 7 a.m. and do a 9 to 3 day to actually you know, see people and have fun during the day and do something outside of the house.
We crossed the border this morning and we left home yesterday. I'm back at school. We're about to proceed into the period for exams. We've got a few weeks of classes, face-to-face for the first time in a while. And then we have SWAT-VAC, which is a gap of no classes, which is just for studying. And then we'll get into exams and got a bit of work to do. I'm fairly behind from remote learning, but, you know, a little bit nervous, but I will just get into it and do the best I can, hopefully. And yeah, I've just got to work at it. For my generation, there's going to be a fair impact on us. Hopefully one thing it does is it toughens us up and it shows us what we can actually do, because I think the world could do with a lot of that at the moment.
My plans for finishing year 12 are I'm going to graduate, hopefully, get into university, hopefully, study criminology and social work. They're some of the courses I'm into. Give back to the people who basically looked after me and raised me, my community, my people. Getting a job at this time, or at a time of recession, I think it's going to be way harder than it ever has been. And me personally, I think that's a challenge I'm willing to take and willing to do, but it's not going to be easy. No one said it's going to be easy, but I think that it hit the right group of young people, because we're fighters.
When I look back on 2020, I think I will smile. There gets to a point where you just realise that this year's going to be crap. Hi. In a remarkable way, there's also something quite refreshing about that fact. You know, I feel like what lets us down most of the time when we feel down is expectation.
Planes don't make movies.
Expectation that we deserve better, or that life should be better, or, you know, more should be going on in our lives. But when all those expectations are lowered, so, okay, we don't have year 12. Year 12 got cancelled, there was a global pandemic.
Stop chewing on the camera.
You will be gobsmacked by all of the good things that you'll start to notice.